Hey everyone, it is DylanLasagna here, back with another video, and it's honestly the last video of 2020. Wow, crazy! It's been a crazy year. So I just wanted to come on here, to do this video and have do a rambling session and off the cusp discussion of how I felt this year went. I mean, I know there's a lot of things that happened this year, but from the top of my head, from what I've got here noted down, this was my personal reflection of 2020. So let's get right into it. And to be honest with you, for the most part, yeah, it was a bad year, but there were a couple of bright spots here and there, but I had a bad sign that 2020 was not going to be a good year. And that first sign was when back in January, when NBA legend and soon to be Hall of Famer, when they do the induction ceremony, Kobe Bryant, he tragically passed away in the helicopter crash in Los Angeles, and along with his daughter. I don't remember the name. Sorry, forgive me. Sorry, but what it touched me even more is that one of my cousins who plays basketball, she played basketball with Kobe's daughter, and that hurt. That passing hurt even more. So it was just a very unfortunate and sudden death too. I remember when I heard of Kobe's passing, I was just scrolling through Twitter as I was preparing for the Royal Rumble, and then all of a sudden Kobe was trending, and I was like, maybe Kobe. People are just saying something about Kobe, but then all of a sudden, no, Kobe was in a helicopter crash, and I'm like, oh my god, no, this can't be real. I'm like, this can't be real, and sure enough, he passed away, and I'm like, God, that was so gut wrenching. Like, it was unreal. I had no words to describe it back then, and even now, it's unreal. It's just unimaginable. So that was kind of the first sign that this year really sucked, and then, well, we know how the whole story of 2020 is now. The COVID-19 pandemic, which started back in March. Well, technically, people news outlets have been reporting of the coronavirus back in the early stages of this year, like in January and in February, and it was just small snippets of of news stories, but then all of a sudden it became a worldwide pandemic, especially here in the United States. Businesses started shutting down. Small and big businesses started shutting down, and everyone was just going into a panic, buying toilet paper, and schools went remote. I remember I was in when this shutdown happened. We didn't my college didn't react immediately. I think I still went to school the following Thursday. The shutdown was about to start. I think it was the Thursday before the shutdown happened, and they were just unsure what they were gonna do. So it was just, at first I thought it was gonna be a week long virtual thing, but then it turned out to be the rest of the year that this was gonna happen. So it was pretty crazy. It was it's just uncertainty. So the pandemic started, and in my eyes, it was the tipping point for when it started was when all the sports stuff started shutting down, and I also saw WWE moving to the Performance Center with no fans. They started doing that, and obviously, again, me like doing school remotely for the rest of, until May when I graduated, and crazy time. It was just an unreal period. I still remember having to do like schoolwork remotely. It was like it was kind of a disadvantage too, because you were easily distracted by by the instance of you wanting to look at something else other than your professor, who is obviously on the other screen, because, well, you're on a computer and it's like your teacher doesn't know what you're looking at. But nonetheless, it was a little bit of a challenge, it's to pay attention during class. And honestly, you don't get a lot of learning done, in my opinion, when you don't see a teacher face to face. I mean, yeah, they're self-learning if you can pick up on it, but I just learn better when I'm doing it one-on-one. Then, like, other than like school, like being remote and all that, it was like, well, and the businesses like close, like either losing money or closing down completely. Like, yeah, from there, the whole world, here in the U.S., it was struggling, and I think from then on, it was just starting to get out of control, especially when it comes to social media, especially when it comes to things going viral. So one of the things that came out of this year was the vast amounts of social movements that happened throughout the summer, especially when it came to the murder of George Floyd and its resulting protests. I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole nother story that you can look up. And then among that were a lot of social justice movements that resulted from those protests. And also, because a lot of social justice movements that did happen resulted in a lot of things being called for change, like the Washington Redskins team being reverted to the Washington football team because of the controversial name, pointing towards its racism towards Native Americans, and along with just recently the Cleveland Indians changing their name as well, the baseball team. So a lot of things were happening throughout the summer with social justice, and then social media became a tool for awareness. But from what I saw on social media, not in relation to the social justice movements, but from other topics, it became a tool to cancel people too. I know from what I've seen in the wrestling community, back in May, when a Japanese wrestler, Hana Kimura, passed away from, I forget what it was, but from a suicide, I believe. I think it was a suicide. And then a couple days later, a burner account from a YouTuber, JD from New York, it surfaced, and it showed JD being sexist, making a sexist comment about Alexa Bliss's ring performance to her performance in bed, and that caught the attention of Alexa Bliss, and she quote retweeted that burner clip, and it spread across social media. The WWE wrestlers were sharing it. They tried to cancel JD. JD doubled down on his stance, and he eventually apologized for it. And it was a whole shitstorm. That was a whole shitstorm on social media. And yeah, throughout the whole year, like, social media has just brought out the worst in a lot of communities, not just the wrestling community, but also the gaming community too, with free Melee. Also, but that was also on Nintendo's part too. But a lot of stuff, like a lot of things, I can imagine brought out the worst in many people. And then with the pandemic, a lot of things had to be shut down. Like movie theaters, beaches, which eventually reopened, malls, theme parks, and probably a lot more that I can imagine. And along with that, because these things shut down, that also like got people angry. That got people pissed off because they weren't allowed to do these things anymore. They weren't allowed to go to their theme parks. They weren't allowed to go to their movie theaters. They weren't allowed to live their life to the fullest. So as such, there were still those rebels, as I like to put it, that defied stay-at-home orders and health regulations by not wearing masks and not practicing social distancing. You get one of those, like you get a couple of those, like every now and then, throughout the year. But I don't know. Even with the disease that has only a small death rate, the cases were still going up. It still is going up, and hospital beds are still getting full. And not to be a dick, but it's not that hard to stay inside. I know we have to get out of our comfort zone and all that, but it's just not the time right now. It really is not the time to do it. But anyway, it also doesn't help, honestly, when people are defying it in the face of the government, and when people rephrase that, people in the government are doing this themselves. I think Gavin Newsom was out in that restaurant, like in a restaurant or somewhere, defying his own state regulations. So that was like hella hypocritical. But at the end of the day, we just gotta do our part and practice healthy habits. Put a healthy balance. If you need to stay home, stay home. But if you also want to go outside, do something like go to a mall, go to a store, like a non-essential store, or go to, like, I don't know, a park or something. Do that too. You just gotta have a healthy balance. You don't prioritize the out-of-home activities over staying home, because I know we have to live a life. We gotta live life to the fullest, like a lot of these extroverts say. But you gotta have a healthy balance. You need to have a healthy balance. And yes, this is coming from an extreme introvert that is sitting right here on his fat ass on a microphone in front of a camera making this video. But yeah, you gotta have a healthy balance. We also lost a lot of people this year. We lost a lot of good people this year. But the ones that affected me a lot were Kobe, Alex Trebek from Jeopardy, Howard Finkel. Let me check that actually. I think we lost Howard Finkel, Pat Patterson, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda Forever, Eddie Van Halen, and obviously Hana Kimura. And then most recently, John Huber, and if most wrestling fans know, Luke Harper in WWE and Brody Lee in AEW. AEW recently did that tribute show the day before today, New Year's Eve. I recommend everyone checking that out. It really gets to know who John Huber was as both a wrestler and a father. And even if you're not a wrestling fan, I recommend you check that tribute show out. So I know I probably missed out on a lot more people because we lost a lot of greats this year. But those were the people that I was shocked and hurt to see pass away the most. And I know the families and the partners of these lost ones are still hurt. So my hearts and prayers go out to those that lost their loved ones. And personally for me, this year, I graduated from the big college and from the 4-year university in May. But I'm kind of mixed on how I feel, more on the negative side of things, because as good as it is to graduate college, it's just in this period, it's just a bad time because I can barely find anything. I can't find a job that's actually in my field of work. Like right now, I'm just at a part-time job, like sorting packages and stuff. So it's a tough time finding jobs that you actually want to do. And honestly, I thought being inside more would motivate me to do pick up on new hobbies, but honestly, it hasn't for me. It's just kind of like, I don't know, demotivated me to like do things. Even kind of demotivated me for a while to play video games because like the outside world just looked depressing. It like even more depressing than it already was. But it wasn't all bad though. But I'll get into that in just a bit. I also stopped paying attention to wrestling, like not watching the shows in full until the Brody Lee tribute show from AEW. I only check it out. Other than that, I only check out wrestling nowadays whenever something very significant happens or whenever Roman Reigns is on, because that's the only thing that's good in wrestling nowadays. Roman Reigns is tribal chief gimmick. That's the only good thing to come out of 2020. Roman Reigns, and of course, Edge's huge return from retirement. Like I still remember when I was getting food. I was getting food from inside the house, and my friend Sam was in the garage, and when Edge's theme song came up, and it was like, holy shit, it's Edge. And I had to run back to the garage because we were doing the watch party for the Royal Rumble live for you guys. And I was like, wait, what? Oh shit, I missed it. But that was such a huge shock moment for a lot of people, I imagine. So, but other than that, wrestling is not good. It's not in a good place. And that's where I want to go with my next point. Pro wrestling in 2020 was very bad. It was very bad. Not only were there a lot of social media fights within the IWC, whether it's between big media, like big members of the IWC, or like between small members of the IWC, but the television product itself, whether it's from WWE or AEW, it just wasn't good. And not only that, wrestling without fans, like, it doesn't work. It's just like too awkward, especially when you have like dozens of screens in the Thunderdome. And canned cheers. It just comes off as fake. It really does. Hence, most of pro wrestling this year was pretty fake. On the WWE side of things, there were obviously, again, too many repetitive matches with the same competitors. Other than Roman Reigns, Tribal Chief, and Alexa Bliss's alliance with Bray Wyatt, and the summer of Randy Orton, there were not a lot of compelling characters. Hence, not a lot of reason to tune into WWE. So, why do you think the ratings continue to go down? Why do you think the interest level continues to go down from a casual perspective? And why do you think the hardcore fans continue to question why should we continue to watch this show other than to claim it's their job? There's also no vignettes, no promos to promote who these wrestlers are, from both a WWE and an AEW standpoint, but I'll get into AEW in a second. And there's also been too many heel turns this year, especially down in NXT. They just turned Tony Storm heel, and I forgot who they also turned heel. I don't know. They keep doing too many heel turns down in NXT, but I know there's like so many heels down in NXT that there's no baby faces left. There just isn't. Now on to the AEW side of things. They've been having way too many tag team matches as of late. Now I understand you gotta get as many people on AEW as possible, but you can't do it through tag team matches. You gotta spread out. If you want to feature as many people as possible on AEW, you gotta spread it out through each week. You can't do it through like multi-man tag team matches, especially not through multi-man spot fests. That's still the big problem with AEW. They're relying on too many spot fests, and I'm glad JR called out on AEW's roster when it comes to these spot fests, and it makes them look even worse when AEW doesn't want to take the AEW roster doesn't want to take that criticism. It really does. So, there's still too many spot fests, and it's like aside from yesterday, I mean the tribute show, it looks like they're not gonna stop doing them. And again, they gotta spread if they want to feature as many talent as possible. You got to spread it out through the next couple weeks, or have Dark or their show AEW Dark be like their second TV show, like their second cable TV show. Again, there's not enough characters for casuals to be in, or like any interested fan to be invested to outside of, honestly, no one. There's no interesting character left. Being too complacent with their current ratings, they're not growing. They really aren't growing with their current show. Again, with the spot fest, with the overly long tag team matches, with whoever Kenny Omega's their world champion. I'm not what the hell his gimmick is supposed to be, but I don't know. They just don't want to grow for some reason. They really don't want to grow, and that's why they're stuck in the under 1 million. They'll never get 1 million unless they promote characters and they do vignettes on almost all of their wrestlers. Because like, how am I supposed to? Who the fuck is Eddie Kingston or Lance Archer or the Acclaimed or Abandon? Like almost all the wrestlers, like I can barely even remember. Like the only ones I can remember are the WWE Outcasts. That's all I can remember. And the Bucks of Suck, because they're just a fun name to pick on, because they're like the spot monkeys of professional wrestling. And speaking of AEW Dark, this is one of their biggest problems that I really dislike. The over-reliance of AEW Dark and the internet. And this is what I don't like. They use AEW Dark. They make viewers use they try to make viewers watch AEW Dark and try to make viewers research so they can learn who these wrestlers are. It's not our job, at least the casual viewers, like the viewers watching this for the first time, or viewers who are at least unaware of who these wrestlers are. And I don't know, those might be the same thing. It's not our job to tell ourselves who these wrestlers are. It's AEW's job to tell who these wrestlers are, to tell us who these wrestlers are. It's not the other way around. Okay? And that's why AEW will not grow unless they do these things. They need to tell us who these wrestlers are. They need to rely less on spot monkey matches, or at least create a balance between that and improving their gimmicks, improving each wrestler's characters. Otherwise, they're going to stay complacent with their 700K viewership of hardcore fans. And I don't know if TNT likes that. I don't know if TNT will ever like that. But if they want to get the ire of NBA Twitter every week, then so be it. However, it wasn't all that bad, though. It wasn't all bad. Like, this year wasn't all that bad. Even though I still have a fat gut. I still have a beer belly. Probably even as big, like bigger than Chris Jericho's. I motivated myself more to work out. I thank my brother for that. Due to the home gym he put together. I also managed to finish a bunch of games in my backlog throughout the second half of the year. Like the first half, like I'm still kind of demotivated to like actually finish games when I'm not streaming. But nonetheless, I still managed to finish a couple of games in my backlog, my very big ass backlog. So I finished South Park, Fractured Butthole, SpongeBob Rehydrated. You remember me streaming that for you guys. Metro 2033 and Last Light, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the Spyro Trilogy, the OG Doom, and then Yoshi's Crappy World, and then Trials Fusion and Evolution. So I completed a couple of games, but there's still a lot that I have to go through, and hopefully I can finish those in 2021. And there were a couple of games that were announced that came out this year, and I kind of want to try it, but at the same time I want to finish this backlog first. There was Spider-Man Miles Morales. I do want to try out Last of Us Part 2, but at the same time I know how controversial that game is right now. Age of Calamity, I heard like the story is good, but the gameplay is eh. I know Super Mario 3D World is coming out in February, so I want to pick up my hands on that. And I honestly don't know what else I want to. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else I want to try out, because I think 2021 is just gonna be the year the backlog, other than Super Mario 3D World, because the Nintendo Switch really doesn't have anything else going for it right now, other than my backlog, and I don't know. I just don't see anything else interesting at this moment. But other than that, I also did my first speed run. You guys saw that, me do that live back in May. 8 hours and 30 minutes of me speed running GTA, and honestly, while I did suck, I did poorly on that speed run. I learned a lot. I learned like a lot from that experience. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. I still practice speed running that game, but it is tough, man. It's like so there are a lot of little things that can ruin your run. So it's like I don't know. I could have done a lot better when I did that run back in May, but it's like it's just a matter of if I want to do it again, if it's worth doing it again. Sitting down my fat ass down here and if I want to stream that again for however long, because 8 hours was already grueling enough sitting in this chair. And then last but not least, I kind of watched more sports that wasn't WWE. The NBA season, like the NBA restart, was okay, but it's also like over riddled with with politics, so I was kind of turned off by that. But what I did enjoy was the NFL. Like, it was awkward to watch without fans, but the games were actually, it was actually a season that I enjoyed. It wasn't too bad. There were actually a lot of surprising teams that exceeded expectations, like the Bills, the Dolphins, the Browns. Although they could have done better by not losing to the Jets, even without their wide receivers. And then there's the teams that disappointed, like the Rams, the Steelers. Like, yes, they did go 11-0, but look at their schedule. Look at the teams that they played. Is that really a convincing 11-0? You tell me. The Vikings, their defense sucked ass. So it's no surprise they're 6-9. Detroit Lions, but it's the Detroit Lions. The Chicago Bears, they always suck at. They're always mediocre. There's probably a lot of teams that either were surprising to me or disappointing to me. But the one team that was just in the middle, were my team. They surprised me and many people with the long rash of injuries. They managed to compile by season's end. So it's crazy. That it's just unreal. A lot of played into that, like no preseason, no training camp. I mean, the entire league went through that too, with no training camp, no preseason, no OTAs. But I don't know if it's the Super Bowl curse. It could be anything. But yeah, it was just a tough year for Niners fans with all the injuries and the big losses. But I gotta say, we like the Cardinals win last Saturday. I'm sorry, was a good one, even though it hurt our draft position, but it's still a good one nonetheless. So I think once next season starts, once everyone gets back healthy, once they get the right pieces, and those pieces include a QB. I don't know if Jimmy G will be staying. I think they'll be a playoff contender again. But overall, I know I've been rambling for like 30 minutes straight now. I just want to say this about 2020. It was a very big year to forget. And I know as all of you are preparing to ring in 2021, already hoping to like forget about 2020, leave it in the past, hoping 2021 brings in positive vibes and all that. And as much as I want to bring in positive vibes about 2021, I want to keep it realistic too. As much as we want to look forward to 2021 being the end of the pandemic, just leaving that in 2020, the year to forget. In 2020, in March, if we're still in this pandemic, it's gonna be a year old. So I know we're all hoping that the pandemic will end, whether it be the vaccines or some other method. Even then, we have to do our part. We have to do our part to stay healthy, wear masks, wear social distance, and balance our lifestyle. You have to stay home, but if you gotta live your life, you can do that too. But you gotta balance that. There's a time to stay home, and there's a time to live your life. Don't prioritize one over the other. And this year we lost a lot of greats. The first, like this, I still believe the start of this being a bad year was the passing and sudden tragic death of Kobe Bryant. And there was a lot of like toxicity all over the place in this world, especially on the internet. There were some bright spots, whether on a national level or on a personal level. But at the end of the day, we can look at this year and say, man, this was something else. And that's all we're going to say about this year. It sucked, but it was something else. And that's what we're going to tell our kids or some new friend, in the future. That's what we're going to tell them about 2020. It absolutely sucked, but it was something else. So hopefully 2021 will be better, for the world, for wherever you live in the world, your state, country, and hopefully for yourselves. And if you stayed for this long in the video, I hope you have a happy new year. Hope you celebrate it safely, healthily, happily, and however. But anyway, everyone, thank you for listening to this very long ramble. I do appreciate each and every one of you that watches my videos, even if this channel is continuing to die a slow, like very slow, long, fast death. However many adjectives you can describe this channel dying, but nonetheless, I no matter how many times I say it, I do appreciate anyone that watches my videos. It just does frustrate me a little that I don't experience a lot of growth, like active, consistent growth. But I do have a lot to work on. I really do. I have a lot to work on when it comes to my YouTube channel. But I do have plan. Like I'm still have the process of working on some stuff. And I'm looking if those plans come to fruition. I look forward to announcing those plans in the future. But anyway, everyone, Happy New Year. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Celebrate however you can. And always be delicious. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.